Prison Break to Ditching Zombies on AMC's hit drama The Walking Dead, Sarah Wayne Callies. Prepare your goodbyes, folks. This will be the last time we will see Olivia Dunham at Comic-Con before Fringe sunsets this year on Fox. Show her how much we're going to miss her. Anna Torv. Okay, I never thought I'd be saying this, but who knew such a gorgeous woman would look absolutely fabulous in a pair of sweats from Walmart? I assume you True Blood fans know what the heck I'm talking about. Say hello to Kristen Bauer Van Stratton. And many apologies, but we weren't able to get this six-axe kicker into the programming notes, but I'm sure you won't mind her participation. You may have caught her on Spartacus, but she will always, always be Xena to us all, Lucy Lawless! Start it off and go down the panel and ask each one of you to talk about the most badass thing that you did this year. It could be anything, like something that happened to you or something badass that you did. Lucy, let's start with you. What's a badass thing that you've done recently? I don't know.
I got arrested after spending 4 days occupying an oil rig that was headed up to the Arctic, and the worst. Sentenced in September, so we'll see how badass the big house is.
Now let me just clear this up. So you pled guilty to save the environment, so that's where things stand.
I am guilty of trying to save the environment.
And we find out when what happens to you.
In September 14 is sentencing, so bring it on, I say.
We'll break you out, Luce. We'll break you out if you go away.
Yeah.
Kristen, Kristen, what about you? Talk about something badass that you did this last year.
I can't follow that.
I got elephants to save, come on.
Right? I mean, okay, last week. I drank the milk the day after expiration date. No, I don't actually drink milk, but I thought committing to that Walmart sweatsuit was pretty intimidating.
Anna, how about you?
Gosh, I'm not badass or funny. I don't know what. What did I do? Oh, I don't know. I've been in Hawaii for a holiday, and I've been surfing, and I got staph. That's gross, not badass. They have sharks there. I'm Australian. I'm not scared of spiders.
Sarah?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm raising a 4-year-old. That feels like a...
That's pretty badass.
It's her birthday in a week.
Totally badass.
We bought her a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And that was, like a real one. So I don't know if I'm a badass, but I'm raising one.
You're
Pretty committed to raising a badass little girl.
Nikki, what about you?
God, it's really hard being fifth right now.
Unless you're sixth.
Yeah, it could be sixth. Sorry.
It's okay.
I bought a house. That's not the badass part of this. I bought a house and I realized how much I hated construction workers. So I tried to do it myself. There's obviously nothing badass about that. Except what happens to your pantry when you try to drill shit into it and it falls apart when you put a can of soup on it. That's all I've got for you.
All right, so I'm last.
Yeah.
Badass. Okay, well, I'm trying to think of this year. This year, I don't know. I partially moved to LA. I don't know if that's badass, but it was really difficult for me. But I think my most badass. I recently traveled to Syria, and this is not super badass, but we were out and we were in like one of the desert camps, and we were near the Iraqi border, peeing outside with lots of men around. Badass?
Did you do it standing up?
No. That would be badass. They have those funnels though. That you can...
The shiwi. The shiwi or the go
Oh,
girl.
Shiwi. I didn't know it was called that.
Oh, I became so acquainted with them at the oil rig. Yes.
You've used them. That's fantastic.
Yeah, they're tricky. You've got to...
You got a tuck.
Yeah.
All right,
You're gonna
seriously.
demonstrate? I was just what?
Sorry?
Oh, I thought I was missing the demonstration.
Oh. You did. It was earlier. We were doing it backstage.
That was after you.
Yeah.
By the way, Nikki only thought this was a panel for 200 people. Could you let her know how many of you are here right now?
5,012.
All right, something serious now. Okay, when Josh Whedon tried in vain to write a Wonder Woman movie, he said in 2010 that it failed because, quote, she's a girl. Hollywood is still twitchy about that. Do you think moods are changing thanks to the success of Dragon with Tattoo in the Hunger Games? How about you, Kristen?
You know, it's so hard to say because you kind of need to compare it to what it feels like being a guy or, you know, what it felt like before, because my experience is so limited to my experience. So from my experience playing Pam, I'm like, oh, it's totally different. We're in a whole new world, you know, because I'm on this show where they, you know, make women really tough and badass. And I spent the first part of my career with nobody believing that I could be smart or tough, haha. And so it feels to me as if it is changing, but I also feel like it's really important for us to, if we can, create our own projects and do as much as we can to be proactive in that area, what we'd want to see, to try in our own way to create that.
Lucy, what do you think?
Yes, I do agree with that, actually. You've got to be a bit of a warrior for your own career. And funny you should mention that, because somebody came to me to say, do you want to develop this series of books with me? And it's a real producer. And I thought maybe it's time I stepped up and started to produce my own stuff. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Do it.
I think it is. Yeah.
Sarah, did you want to make a point about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's difficult for women in this business. I think we're often taught that we are competition for one another.
Yeah.
And that we ought to not be friends, and that we ought to be thinner, younger, and prettier. And the people who have been the greatest mentors to me, actually, I mean, the very first series I did was with Lucy. And she made a huge impression on me, and showing up on set and sticking her hand out and saying, I'm Lucy, and that was it. We were friends, and she was a supporter and a champion. And I think the way forward with women is with women.
Yeah.
I think that's how we do it.
I agree.
Anna, did you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, on that, I think that you know, you're only ever as good as the people that you're working with, and so therefore you should be supportive of everyone, men and women too. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I haven't. As I said, I can only talk from my experience, and I've really only worked in Australia, and you know, like we shoot in Canada, and I don't know. There's always been a kind of solidarity, I think. Like, I have been lucky to have escaped that kind of competitive nature, you know? Like, I haven't ever experienced any of that stuff, which I'm relieved about, but, you know. But are things changing? I don't know. Yeah, I think they always change. But then again, I'm a woman, and so I remember clearly, like, people are like, oh, there's so many more, female leads. And I'm like, well, that was all that stood out in my head when I was growing up anyway, because you're constantly, looking for role models. So, I just still see it. Yeah.
Kristen, Nikki, what is your point of view on this?
It's interesting. I think it is challenging for women in this business, and I've always felt that way. But I look at television now, and a lot of the characters and roles that are out there for women in TV are fantastic. I don't know if that's as true in film. That's a broad statement to make, and it's a generalization. But I think that when we look at even auditioning during like pilot season or whatever, there's a lot of stories that are really female driven, and not in a stereotypical sense, and not in she's strong because she behaves like a man sense. I think that there is a lot of complexity, and I think that's really important. And I agree with you ladies, like making our own projects and making sure that there are writers that are women and producers that are women, so that we can tell those stories in the way that is true to us, is really valuable.
And also, sorry, just to add to that too, is I think sometimes, like we do have a lot of, there's a lot of female leads in a lot of different shows, but what we maybe need to start looking at is for every one female lead, there's then 5 supporting men. And it would be nice to kind of start to even that side of things up a little bit too, so that you get the opportunity to work and you get the opportunity to kind of learn and grow before you're kind of thrown in the deep end too.
Yeah.
Nikki, this is something I'd like you to weigh in on. Did you all see the movie 13? You all remember that movie? How do you feel about writing a screenplay with a strong female as the center, and do you think it would get made?
Well, I'd like to say I do, because it did. It's sort of connected to what we were just talking about. Maybe I'm naive, I don't know, maybe I've just been sheltered in a certain sense, but I grew up with so many strong women around me, and Catherine Hardwicke, who's the director you're referring to, some of the best films I've made have been with her, and I've had such a great experience working with strong women, and a lot of the women that I've surrounded myself by, Rita Wilson, who writes for the Huffington Post and has starred in countless films and is now, writing and producing her album and singing, and Sherry Lansing, and just like countless women around me. And so I was brought up with this idea of, if you want to do it, you can do it, and I don't feel limited. I don't feel that pressure being a young woman. Is that? That's great. Yeah, it's I guess overly optimistic and maybe straying farther from what's real, but it's just my mentality.
But it's the right mentality, I think it's great.
Do you think biases still exist in Hollywood, that men won't come to see movies or watch television shows that have strong female leads? Do you think there's still studio execs who feel that way?
I'm sure there are, but there's that show on HBO, Girls, and she's not, it's so great. She's not, it's so great. I love Angelina Jolie, and she's amazing, and that role in Salt was written for a guy. So you see all those, you hear those stories, but then there's Girls. She's just such the not stereotypical lead, and she's wrote and produced it and starring in it. So it's definitely that if you create the opportunity, there may be, resistance in some areas, but there is to everything. There was resistance to the light bulb, So I think the world just resists things. There's resistance to better environmental practices. There's just the status quo, but it can be with a good product.
Have you noticed how many older women are now reigning in television?
Yes.
I'm loving this as,
Yeah.
as I'm getting older myself. It's awesome to see those women kicking ass, and they might be Sigourney Weaver, who paved the way for all of us to be here. Her portrayal of Ripley was the be-all and end-all, and in a way still is. So I actually wrote a fan letter to her the other day. Yeah, I wrote a pure fan letter, and anyway, yeah.
Sarah, did you want to say something to that?
No, I just think it's awesome.
I mean, but seriously, Lucy's right. I think there's something to be said for the fact that the roles on television, especially for women right now, they're not roles for women who are, 5'9", 21, and weigh 105 pounds. They're roles for women. And
Glenn
certainly-
Close, another one.
Yeah. I feel like the role I'm playing right now is one of the most interesting and complex characters I have ever seen on television. And it deals with a woman who's a mother, and she's been married for a long time. And there's a sense that you can explore the issues that real women, face, not just, do I shave my legs or do I wax my legs? Oh my God, these are real women, and I don't think it was always that way.
What is a day in the life like for you on Walking the Dead? Because the whole cast looks like they just have just a truckload of
Do you
dirt on
shave your
them.
legs or do you wax your legs?
I mean, it's not about beauty. It's hot and it's sweaty and it's gross, and I think it's kind of liberating. I go through hair and makeup, and it's not the hair and makeup department, it's the dirt and blood department. They sweat you down, they throw sunscreen on you, they throw dirt on your face. It's wonderful. It's a great. The show is the enemy of vanity, and I think that's a really exciting thing. Yeah, for women, I enjoy it.
I gotta ask you guys, what is the worst costume that you've ever been asked to wear? Let me start with you, Kristen, down at the end.
Oh my God. Okay. I have had I think that doing Smallville for 8 years. I had skin tight. Kristen over there, I'm sure, wears a lot of really skin tight leather clothes, but a lot of skin tight leather clothes. Tiny, I think they wanted me in the tiniest skirts and bustiers and all the, red. And she was playing, I was 15 years old, not me, but the character was 15 years old, and they wanted her in red lace lingerie. That kind of stuff, good time. Is that legal? I think so. If you're 18 playing 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nikki, how about you? Who's GA, Nikki?
I don't know. I feel like all of the horrendous stuff I've been forced to shove my body into has been, a contributing factor. I don't know. I just feel like it's made the character what it is, so I try not to complain. And also, and not that that's what you're doing, but I also feel like because Twilight is still going around, in 5 years I'll have some really fun stories for you guys, but I really shouldn't do that yet. So ask me next year.
Amazing.
Anna, the cool thing about Fringe is that you're kind of de-hotified on that show. I mean, they don't play up the total chick that is Olivia. Has that been a refreshing thing for you?
Yeah, that was something that right from the very beginning, it's like, you know what, if the show's set so far out there, it's science fiction, we always sort of, you have to therefore make the characters as believable as you can within, that kind of, framework, and if she's an FBI agent, then she should be in flat Blundstones, a grey suit, and a big, we shoot in Vancouver, it's cold, I want a hat, a scarf, a woolen jumper, and that's kind of that's her nature, and they've always been really great about it too. There hasn't been, I think there was a little bit of, it'd be great if we could, just sex her up, and I'm like, well, when we're looking at this dead body, or when we go back to the lab and look at the other one, and you're like, fair enough too. So that in itself is liberating. I mean, the worst thing that I have to put on is the revolting, flesh-colored wetsuit when they put me in the tank. That's it. Really. But that is refreshing. And also, I think that's happening more and more. You start to sort of see, it's interesting with HD too, seeing, real faces on TV and
Oh, you like that, do you?
no, I said it's interesting because I think what happens is that you get kind of more used to seeing it, whereas when everything's all
That a girl.
Because of the way you look, I mean, obviously, invariably, a male will probably come to you and say, we want you to wear less. Do you feel like you're in the position that you can push back and say no?
Yes, if it's gratuitous, of course you can. You just find a justifiable reason not to. But then sometimes it really works, and sometimes you know, there are times where there are characters that that it's liberating to wear something that you're not comfortable in, even in yourself. I think.
Yes, Kristen?
Well, it's just so funny being on True Blood because I'm the most dressed person, you know, like the men are never wearing clothing. It's totally awesome. And my clothing is so uncomfortable and painful and I just love it so much. And we probably jumped the shark last season on what Pam is wearing and we have no idea where the line is. We keep imagining there's a line we're crossing and then we put this hysterical outfit together and then we go, I guess there is no line. It's like rubber and corset and bondage and we're like, looks good. But yeah, so it's just like, I don't know, I kind of look at naked people all day and my feet always hurt and I can barely breathe. I'm kind of having a blast. Such a funny job.
What about you, Lucy? You wore a lot of turtlenecks and long skirts and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
I think the worst thing I ever had to wear was this real hair merkin that was like
Oh yeah.
the size of somebody's beard. And I was like, can't you give me the Mr. Tumnus? You know, the full... I want the full suit. Nah, put it on, don't complain. That's how it works in my country. There's no, it's gratuitous, Missy, they say to me. And I just go put it on.
We're going to be taking your questions, by the way, so if you'd like to line up in the center aisle, we'll be glad to grab it. Lucy, I want to go back to you. Can you talk about the finale? What's been the reaction to the Spartacus finale? And I don't think it's a spoiler now at this point.
Hang on. The finale from last season?
Yes.
Oh. I don't know. I've been in the legal system for the last 8 months. I've missed everything. But I think it was a really spectacular way for my character to go out. If you don't know, my character did this terrible thing. She was sort of incubating a baby inside her best friend, and then at the time that it was ready to go, she cut it out and jumped off a cliff with the baby to take it back to her husband, right, in the afterlife. It was an act of love, I tell you. Don't clap, it's despicable. What's wrong with you people? Anywho, I thought it was, in a way, going off that cliff was my homage to the High Priestess of all, Sigourney Weaver in Aliens 3. Do you remember that as she went into the flames? Oh. I don't think Newt was with her, right? She wasn't holding a baby, right? Nah, they were Aliens 3, nah, different. Anyway, yeah. What was the question?
You can. Kristen, what about you? This seems like there's always been so much more to Pam than just being this incredibly
Apart from
great
a great
bitch.
name. Pam.
We're going to see, it seems like we're definitely seeing those additional layers this year, right?
Yeah, every year I've gotten another little piece of the puzzle, you know, it's sort of become a 3D character now for me. And this year was a big piece of the puzzle with my relationship to my maker. And, yeah. Right? And it was really fun. You know, I waited 5 years and I'd been asking the producers, like, what's the relationship and when was I made? And they'd never tell us. And so I've had so much fun this year. Every year I have fun, but this is it's always challenging on this show.
Anna, it seems as though your character has become less kick-assy, not in a bad way, but the plots have gotten more complex and there's fewer action scenes as the show winds down. How does it feel doing a role that's more emotional now?
Well, I still, like last year, I still got to play a little bit with the alternate Olivia too, who still is kind of badass. So I sort of, I got some big, I got that big sniper shot. That was kind of fun to do. So I still kind of have her, and it's been funny because it means that I could sort of separate. So I kind of put all of, and I think I've always tended to do that. I sort of put all of the emotional stuff and all the kind of the baggage onto Olivia, and I keep like Olivia. We still call her kind of free, and so I feel like I've still got that balance. But I think this year, with the absence of the alternate universe now. I'm interested to see where, I know this is...
I love these conversations. This one is so great.
Yeah. I love your character. I do. What am I saying?
Alternate universe.
Absolutely. So, yes, I think that Olivia will then be... I think I'll be able to put a little bit more into her and sort of not be so concerned about keeping them separate. I didn't.
Now, Sarah, what is it like for you? Because obviously, the comic books are out there. We know who potentially dies. I mean, do you all just walk around the set like, I mean, this is my time, this is my time? And what's it like?
Show's called The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you don't go into that show thinking, whoo, 25 years in a pension, you know? It's gonna come. It's gonna come. But you know, that's kind of any show, I think, in a way. I mean, ours, well, and ours.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's certain kinds of shows you get yourself involved in that you go, well, this is a show that succeeds as long as everybody in it is in danger of dying, which means eventually your number comes up. You know, when it comes to this show specifically, it's the best creative experience I've ever had. I work with an extraordinary group of professionals, incredible actors. Our crew is made up of superheroes, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for every single second, but it's going to end, you know, and it all ends. I mean, our shows, even shows that run for such a long time, like Smallville, you know, what we do is we fall in love with a character, we create a world, and then eventually, whether it's, you know, 6 weeks or 6 years, you say goodbye to it. And I think early on in your career, you just have to make peace with that. Otherwise, you walk around pretty heartbroken and bitter, I think.
Nikki, what's life been like for you? You've been as part of this huge thing for years.
What are you
Are you ready to just leave the quiet life with your cute husband now, or I mean, are you ready for it to be over? This monolith of a movie?
Did you just ask if we were doing The Simple Life with my husband?
No. Are you looking forward to quiet time with the husband now, or is it? I mean, are you going to miss this being in the zeitgeist 24/7?
I don't know the answer to that yet, just because it's hard to reflect on something that I still feel so close to. You know, it's not done, and for so long I think we've all just been putting it off. You know, for the last like 2 years, people have been saying it's coming to an end, it's coming to an end, and it's not coming to an end, and now it is coming to an end because that panel that we just did yesterday was the last time we're all going to sit together at Comic-Con on a panel, and things like, moments like that where you start to realize like there are lasts involved, the last premiere. It does get sad, you know, we've been together for a long time as a group, as a family, but what would I do if I thought I couldn't go on without it? You know, you just have to sort of close the book and say, there's other things going on, and I've had a really exciting year, and, you know, as an actor, like, there are years that go by where you're like, what do I do? I'm not working at all. Should I just give up and go work at Walmart? Like, I don't know what to do with myself. And this year I've done 4 films, actually, and I have some other things going on, which I just am sitting there calling my agent, going like, God, you must really love me. Things are happening right now. But I am married, and I'm crossing my fingers that life goes on after Twilight.
Before we get to the questions, Chris, I wanted to ask you, you got a huge reception yesterday during the fight scene of Beauty and the Beast. Is this your wheelhouse now? Is this the kind of thing that you really want to do?
You know, I am happy that I have the opportunity to do it now. I don't necessarily want to do it all the time. And like, when I think about a strong woman, I don't think it's just somebody who can kick people. Like, I really think that there's a lot that a woman has to go through to gain that strength in her life. And I feel like that's part of the journey. So I'm happy that I actually have the opportunity to be in the position that I can build a character that could become very strong. And I think that even, I've